Christian Metz said that genre went in a cycle and it had four stages. The first stage was the experimental stage. This is the stage at which the conventions of the genre are being established and the genre is starting to take shape. For comedy, the experimental stage was the silent comedy era, from midway through the first decade of the 20th century into the end of the second decade of the 20th century. Films like Buster Keaton's The Navigator excellently showed the development of the conventions that would shape the genre. You could see from this film how the typical narrative in the genre is established. In this film, the protagonist gets himself into an adventure in which a series of unfortunate incidents would take place, often caused by no fault of his own, on the quest to his goal that was established at the beginning. The protagonist, often chasing a goal, would also be escaping something at the same time. In this film, you can see him escaping the people on the island while trying to win over the girl Betsy. The protagonist often achieves the goal in the resolution, except in Charlie Chaplin's films, which often have a much more melancholy ending to them. The people that chase the protagonist are often people the protagonist gets on the wrong side of by accident. For example, you see in this clip that the protagonist gets on the wrong side of the villagers and is chased by them because they thought he was coming to the islands. However, he only stopped in front of the islands because his boat had broken down and he had no intention of actually stopping at the islands. Films from this stage create comedy out of everyday situations that would otherwise probably be boring in real life. I think this is because the audience would be less likely to be informed of differences in other cultures or more intellectual ideas, as the education system wasn't as developed as it is now, and the sharing of information wasn't as vast as it is now. So everyday life was something everyone could relate to, as it's essential to understand something to see the comedy in it. The comedy was also very visual, which was probably because sound hadn't come into cinema yet, so this was the only way to convey comedy and to create comedy. Often in these films, little incidents would happen that create visual comedy, but aren't really essential to the narrative of the film and aren't referenced again in the narrative of the film. This is because it's hard to progress a narrative while at the same time having characters fall through windows or accidentally hit policemen. You could see in this sequence where the protagonist is making the dinner. For example, the protagonist tries to get the egg out of the pot using a ladle, and the egg keeps slipping away. And when the protagonist puts a tin can in between his feet and sits on the table in a butterfly position and tries to open it with a tin can opener, he ends up drilling a hole through the tin can and spilling the contents of the tin. However, this sequence is never referenced again in the film, and if it was taken out of the film, the narrative would still be the same.